I'll stay. I will go.
Now it's good.
See that.
That's me.
Thanks for coming. I like the uniform.
Finish call Pure Life Society.
No, I'm from. Oh, you're from
Finish yeah.
Oh. Cheap. Look in them too. Very nice.
Good evening, Venerable Chief Datuk Sri Dhammaratana, Venerable Seelawimala, and also our most distinguished speaker for tonight, Venerable Dr. G. Chandima. Tonight, I have got many roles. One is MC, two as President of Buddhist Mahavihara to give opening address, and three, introduce the speakers. Anyway, as far as Buddhism is concerned, Buddha said this. In fact, all the Buddhas said this. Do good, avoid evil, and purify your mind. That is the basic tenets of the teachings of all the Buddhas. Basically, all big things come from small beginnings. The seed of every habit is a single tiny decision, but as that decision is repeated, a habit sprouts and grows stronger, roots entrench themselves, and branches grow. The task of breaking a bad habit is like uprooting a powerful oak within us. And the task of building a good habit is like cultivating a delicate flower one day at a time. And basically, the teachings of the Buddha has emphasized on this. Purification of the mind. Although the 10 meritorious deeds would be generosity, but generosity doesn't include corruption. And it is important for us to understand this basic tenet. And without taking up much time, I would allow the speakers to say their take on this topic, purifying corruption in life. And this is important. This is important. I think our current government is also trying its very best to eradicate corruption in all forms. Whether you get summoned for parking, double parking, and then you bribe the guy, to get away with it, with the summons. Or you drive fast, you break the rules, and yet you take the dollars, the ringgit, to ensure that you get scot-free. And these are bad habits, as I said. And these habits entrench in ourselves. And every time you repeat it, it becomes a natural occurrence. And you don't think twice about it, because everything can be solved with money. But in life, that is not true. And today, Venerable Dr. Chandima, and of course, our guest, Brother Cheong Zhit will explain what it means to purify corruption in life. With that few words, I thank you for coming to attend this talk. Welcome to Buddhist Mahavihara. And now it gives me great pleasure to invite Brother Cheong Zhit to give a brief on how this discussion is going to go through. Thank you very much. Brother, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Cheong, Bhante, and all the participants and all people are here, the guests and everybody. Welcome. I'm glad that you all are here, and I hope that this session will be much more interactive. And I hope that this is not the first sessions. We can also continue to have some improvement on any other sessions. Because talking about corruption, it becomes very professional. We have corporate liability, we have corruption risk management, we have even organization anti-corruption plan, that initiative by everybody, and we want to have a collective actions with any communities that come and work with us hand in hand and to fight corruption together. Okay, I'll just give you a brief idea how I came to Mahavihara to actually initiate this idea. Right? I actually go through YouTube and I actually saw Bhante, Chandima. This is a very good YouTube that I listened to, and thanks to Bhante, this is what about fraud. Actually fraud is common thing, but in Pali words to preach on this and to talk about uniqueness of life, how to overcome fraud, it's not easy. So I think this is a very good start for us to have to understand what is fraud in terms of Buddhism. And I grew up from a place called Pure Life Society, and I know everybody will know that it's an orphanage home, and Swami Satyananda and Mother Mangalam, who is the one who initiated this, and I stayed there until I went to university, and I came back and I be someone that I can serve the country. Okay? So this is brief about where Pure Life Society is in a Dharma school, and we have a lot of Dharma every day, and we even have a lot of mantra, and we practice, even there we have practiced karate, so that is why we've been grown to have moral educations in such a way. Okay, global economics are actually very concerned about public life, and with economies like corruption scandals can actually affect public life as well. Okay, and Malaysians are also worried about inflation, but corruption is still a major concern, right? And recently, the survey, we can see that financial, political corruptions are actually very high up, and that is a top 5 worries, right? Recently, January 2023, also we have the highest stock. That is a lot of people are worried about political corruptions. Okay, there are a few agencies. One of it is in Malaysia. I think everybody will know that logo, right? It's very famous. Every day you read the newspaper. Okay. So section 7, our function is to act and investigate any reports and detect any complaints about corruption cases. And we also to examine some system procedures and public bodies to facilitate the offenses of these corruptions. We even advise anybody who actually wanted to know how to fight corruptions, and we even educate the public about what is corruption, and we want public support, like anyone you here to come out and say, I want to fight corruptions. So thanks, you make a very good things. So give yourself a big clap. Thanks for supporting us. Right? So what is corruption? Briefly, under our act is an act of receiving, giving gratifications or reward in the form of high value to perform a task to somebody else. So you give a money or whatever in a wages. In return, you must have something else back. So in kind, that somebody have to demand on it. So you have to solicit. So when they solicit, you are the one who's going to give the bribe. So when you don't want to give, they will not approve anything, all right? Or either they will give you a summon. Okay, this is an example. Okay, example is the contractor reward a gift in the form of expensive watch to the government officials to award for awarding a project to a company. Okay, so there are 4 main offences: soliciting or receiving gratifications or bribe. Secondly, offering or giving gratifications. Like what just now we have discussed with a gentleman, offering without asking, where you offer yourself, you wanted to offer, but the authority will say, I don't want, but you still offered, you will caught, and you will be arrested as well, right? And the third one is about false claim, okay? The fourth one is about abuse of power to get gratifications, okay? So this is an example of KRA project where an ex-manager claimed to accept bribe for that project. Okay, even though we have some that offered bribe to a former minister. So this is a case where we prosecute him and we also even charge him as a corporate liability because he's entitled to have the offences as well, right? So this is one of thing. Okay, you see, when a company or employee actually involved in a corruptions, they are always afraid about we are freezing their account. When we freeze your account, you can't be operating your management, you can't be paying your staff any salary. So freezing account of your company, of your personal account is a very burden of you, so that you can actually, you cannot survive yourself, right? So we also even have offences like if you fail to report, so you will take actions against some suspect. Okay, don't worry, Whistleblower Protection Act is there. You are protected when you come to launch a report to us. So we will protect you under the identity or the information that given to us. Alright? So please identify a risk, maybe your condo or maybe your workplace or maybe your management organizations or somebody you deal with, like suppliers and so on. So come up to us, let us know what is your risk, and we will come and mitigate that. So you have a role as well to play, so that your role will be there, like you give dana, so that you will be more generosity and you will not commit any offences of that, right? So we have a few programs, right, in such a way. So if you have any information, please keep your evidence and come to my office. My office is at the Jalan Cochrane, right? So you can always drop by our office and get a consultation where we have a duty officers there. Okay, that's all. Thanks a lot for my speech.
Thank you, Brother Cheong, Zhit. For the benefit of the audience, Brother Cheong is the Chief Investigator of the MACC-KL. I forgot to introduce you as the Chief Investigator of MACC-KL. Now, I would like to invite our most venerable Datuk Dhammaratana to say a few words. Venerable Sir.
Venerable Sirs, Bhante from USA, Bhante Seelawimala and Bhante Chandima, and of course our friend Mr. Cheong Zhit. So you heard the Chief Investigator So his position is very high. And our presidents, Mr. Prematilaka Sirisena, and all the brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Very good evening to all of you. Tonight, you have chosen very unusual and very unique subject to discuss. But you don't have to worry, don't have to be very sensitive. This is so, as Brother Prem Tilaka mentioned just now, our great master, the Buddha, more than 2,600 over years ago, he gave us this message. Instead of explaining more and more details, he has explained with the only 4 lines. Not to do evil, do good, purify your mind. This is all Buddha's teaching. So anyway, so we as a religious people, we try our best to avoid doing evil things, try our best to do good things, at the same time purify our mind. And thank you, Mr. Cheong, by organizing, leading of today this special discussion section. In fact, he came and talked to me, I think maybe 1 month or more than 1 month ago. So I told him little bit facts, and then he said we try our best to adjust back. Anyway, today's society, we need to know more about what is going on around the world. Just now you have mentioned few things. Actually, for your information, most of the Raya people doesn't know. You ask any of these, most of the people and ordinary people, what you have mentioned, none of them doesn't know anything. But is it time for us to come out to organize awareness program? If we can educate people, I think we will be able to reduce minimum or maximum this corruption words or whatever the interpretation. So I'm not going to talk so much because I especially invited Bhante Seelawimala to explain. Corruption word, those days when we were young, we never heard about that. But for your information, we used to hear offerings. When people want to come and offer to the monks, so we thank you, we appreciate. At the same time, we used to hear gift. But corruption word only lately we used to hear, I'm sorry to say. So those days we never heard about corruption word, but we used to hear the offerings and gift. Maybe later our venerables will be explained to you offerings and gift. Corruption may be more details, I hope you will be able to give us. This, as far as I know, in the world today, it is not that easy to eradicate drug trafficking, human trafficking, prostitution, and many more other negative things. We know all over the world, government authority, they take initiative to catch them, arrest them, and punish them, or again rehabilitate them. But it is not that easy to eradicate 100% all this negative thing. So the same way, corruption, wealth or gift or offering also not that easy to eradicate. And I do not know, again I have to explain to you, we used to hear or we learn from our masters, we learn from our teachers, we learn from our parents. So if anything you want to offer, so please you can offer to the Buddha. How we must offer. And then same time, we want to give something to another person. So we learn how to give things. At least our parents, I can remember those days, our parents forced us to must say thank you. They force us to say thank you. If you just keep quiet, when you want to come inside, if somebody open the door, if you did not say thank you, then force us, why you keep quiet? Better you say thank you to the person. So, I believe this thank you word develop, and today until corruption. So later, more information, details you can ask Mr. Cheong. Okay? I don't know how much they develop for thank you word. So, these are the things. Most of the ordinary people, we doesn't know the real interpretation. We know every time we encourage the devotees, you must offer, when we prepare the food also, first part of the food, we better go and offer to Buddha. Then Buddha going to be a most corrupted person. Are you? No. But that's a way. Then again, the gift also. We have a very traditional practice. If we are living in the kampong, so when Hariraya or Chinese New Year, Deepavali come, so when you have Indian people, they celebrate Deepavali, they take all the Indian kueh and go and give it to the neighbors. So it doesn't bother Indian, must be Indian or Chinese or Malay or Punjabi or no. But that was our tradition those days. But I do not know, slowly it disappeared. But this is the way we have been practicing in kampong. Then same time, next time when the other people's, festival come, they come to our houses and give them. And then same way, we used to build up family feeling in the kampong, in the village. That's how we build up unity. We build up unity. Otherwise, when you go to Europe country, UK or USA or somebody come and kill you also, nobody bother. Nobody bother because they don't bother each other. You can ask them. Our friend from USA, our friend from Canada, neighbors, anything happen, don't bother. Body can be rotten in the house many months or years, but people don't bother. But they know how to complain. This house very smelly, no hygienic, better call up the health ministry or Bandaraya or town council to come and clean up. But that's the Western culture. But our culture, especially Asian culture, we brought up such a way, we care each other. Our unity we built up such a way. So, today, of course, they asked me to come and share with you all, but I am thinking I don't want to waste your precious time. I also want to learn many things from all of you. So, and we are very fortunate. We have the Bhante Seelawimala from San Francisco, as well as the Bhante Chandima from Canada. And then later, our brother Cheong will analyze everything and explain to you more details about how to corrupt the people. So anyway, so because otherwise just keep on listening, we're boring, huh? Because now almost 8:30, going to be late. Huh? So anyway, on behalf of the Buddhist Mahavihara, I would like to thank to the both venerables present over here. We must take the opportunity. This is the golden opportunity. They are here. We can get the different points. In additional to the Buddha's teaching. In additional to Buddha's teaching, we can get the different view, different ideas from USA, from Canada, as well as our local government. So, and thank you so much for the both venerables as well as our brother Cheong being with us this evening. If you need any assistance, please don't be hesitant to contact us, and we are ever ready to give you full support to coordinate whatever you need, any assistance. But again, thank you so much, because our Buddhist community, as I told you earlier, most of the people are too innocent. If you did not come and just now did not explain to us the offering, I think I also keep on offering to Buddha every day. So, therefore, better I would like to invite both venerable to explain offerings and giving and corruption, ask Brother Cheong to explain. So then both venerables are free from all the what you call blame, and then let Brother Cheong to get the blame from public. Thank you so much. Now I would like to invite Bhante.
Venerable Naik Tere and Venerable Chandima. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here talking about something very important. I am happy that purifying corruption in life is a much better topic than purifying corruptions among politicians. So the corruption is going to be everywhere. As people are there, corruption is going to be there. Because when you see a community or group of people, there are two groups of people. One is the powerful and the powerless. As long as the powerful and powerless exist in any community, without something very important, I tell you what it is, corruption is going to be there. That is, powerful person exploit the powerless person. That is all what is we are calling as corruptions. Exploiting others, that the property or the money that he was talking about, wealth that should be shared with everyone, is taken away from them by the powerful person. That's going to be there in this world no matter what. But with one thing, if the powerful person or powerful people have enough wisdom, education, you can call it education in simple word, if the education is there, then the powerful person don't use the power carelessly, because with the wisdom and education, they generate the care. And when Venerable Dhammaratana Chief Reverend talk about generosity and giving and sharing and all that, that all means the opposite of exploiting. Instead of taking away, you give something to the other person and make their life better and easier and more prosperous. And only with the wisdom, the powerful person can do it. If the wisdom is not there, it's a good education is not there, the powerful person is always going to exploit others in the community, powerless. Because majority is going to be powerful. Minority is going to be powerful, majority is going to be powerless. Even the majority has the tendency to make a person powerful by voting and by helping them to get to the power and powerful positions in the government, in the country. And the powerless person are the people who feed them with power. And when they don't have enough wisdom to use their power, they use it very corruptedly or very unkindly and unfairly. So that is always going to be there. So this means what we need is to educate the people who are in the power or who are powerful. In any society there are not only politicians, there are wealthy people who has a lot of power, right? So they exploit others. Wealthy people always exploit other people and gain more wealth. And that's the way it is going to be in this world, no matter what. Because with no wisdom, all these powerful people and powerless people both have greed. That is going to be there. Because all uneducated, unwise people are governed by greed and hatred and ignorance. Ignorance means not sensitive to the other people, not sensitive. That is ignorance. So what we need to do is to educate people. That's what the Buddha did. Throughout his whole life, he has constantly educating about exploiting is not the one he wanted to learn. Practice of generosity. The Buddha pushed for people to learn generosity as opposed to exploiting people. And be kind to others. If you give a gun to a foolish person, that person use that gun to make more power and more wealth and all these things. Because he has he didn't receive wisdom with the gun. If the gun and the wisdom both are given, that person would never use the gun incorrectly. So that is what we have to remember. So one thing that we have to do is what we are doing here in the temple, just like Reverend Dhammaratana mentioned, teach the children to take care of others and practice giving, practice sharing, practice generosity, and that helps them to be more sensitive to the needy and the poor. So that way they never be exploiting other people. That means the corruption in that person only would be gone, would be diminished. But what we need is to educate them, bring them wisdom, teach them the sympathy and compassion and caring. So these things are needed to be taught, and Buddha has been teaching, and Buddhist temples has been teaching all these things, but temples are not effective in teaching the mass, because they think temple is a religious place, not an educational place. That means they have to educate the children at the school. So Dharma doesn't have to be Buddha's teaching. Dharma is the teaching for all. Basically how human mind works, how human being operate, all these are taught by the Buddha, that is Dharma. So you can completely put the Buddhism aside and teach the Dharma. So people don't know that we are learning a religion. So that is how we have to educate, purifying the corruption from the very young age. So we have to educate the children. Not if the Sunday school is good. Sunday school is only few people. But the regular school is all the people go to regular school. And you have to educate them at the regular school from grade level to all the college level. And even in the colleges, we have to discuss these subjects and talk about generosity, kindness and compassion, and how the world is being exploited by the powerful people in the country and in the community. It is going to be there. So unless we educate the children with Dhamma, Dhamma means compassion and wisdom. That's the only thing. How the brain works, that is called wisdom. How the heart works is called compassion. When the heart is fully effective, you become a compassionate person, you never exploit others. When you are a wise person, you also never exploit other people, because they know how the other person is feeling, because you have enough wisdom to know how the other person's mind is working, how other person's feeling pain like anyone else, and this has to be taught in the grade level to the college level, and that way we can expect a better country with politicians with less corruption, because politicians are the most powerful people in any place. Anywhere where is the power, there is corruption. But anywhere there is a power and wisdom, there is prosperity. Very simple. Prosperity is as opposed to exploitation. So that is what I have to say tonight, and I am so glad that this kind of discussion and dialogues are happening, because these are little beginnings in any society. It's not only Malaysia, or anywhere in the world. If there's powerful person, America, I live in America, so we don't even know how corruption is operating, because it's so hidden in the corruptions, and it exploit people, and people experience a lot of pain and suffering and poverty and all that. If you go to United States now, in San Francisco or Chicago or any city, you will see thousands and thousands of people sleeping on the street with no blankets, but covered by cardboard boxes. It should not be there, because the United States is the most richest country that everybody can be fed, well fed, and everybody can have homes and comfortable places to live, but they live on street corners and under the bridges, and all the pavements are full of people, and no place to go to bathroom, no food for morning breakfast, and now all the churches are practicing dana, just like Venerable mentioned. All the Christian churches and all the Buddhist groups are not even active enough right now, but some Buddhist groups are very good at supporting, but that is not, that is only putting a plaster on the wound, because the plaster is not good enough. The illness is coming from the body and you have to treat the body. So when you treat the body, you don't need the plaster. So what we are doing is putting the plaster on what is going on, but the main problem is ignorance. Ignorance is the ultimate reason for all corruptions and all suffering. So corruption, where is corruption? There is suffering, unavoidable. So therefore, what we need is to educate them and bring them wisdom. Wisdom is coming from, wisdom and knowledge is two different things. Wisdom is being able to feel the other person and see the cause and effect of your behavior. So if I behave like this, there will be a lot of frustration and fear generated in my community, and I should not be doing what I am doing now. That is the wisdom. So wisdom and knowledge is different, but still knowledge is a great help. But knowledge support more wisdom also. And this is more things will be discussed by Venerable Chandima, and all of you can give your own comments and ideas. And thank you very much for having me at this place.
Thank you, Venerable Bhante Seelawimala, for your explanations. So you must know how to learn and get educations and then develop your wisdom. Then when we develop our wisdom, definitely we can have a prosperous, happy, healthy society in this world. Once again, thank you, Venerable. Now I would like to invite Venerable Chandima to give us his good thought and share his knowledge with our people.
A very good evening to all of you. Dear Most Venerable Datuk Dhammaratana, the Chief Reverend of the Temple. Should be okay. Most Venerable Madawala Seelawimala from San Francisco, USA, and guest here today, Brother Cheong Zhit, Chief Investigator, MACCKL, and the President of this society, Sasana Abhivruddhi Society, Brother Siriseni Premtilak, and all of you, Dhamma friends. I think our thoughts about corruption revolve around as a moral responsibility, which was actually kind of lost its interest in the 20th century. It was a moral, kind of uptight philosophical value that people thought through philosophical religious traditions. But now it has been a very hot topic because it includes public money, and it includes dishonest, fraudulent behaviors. It includes many other things. If you look at the primary level of corruption from a Buddhist point of view, it is the corrupted mind. Now the Chief Reverend was asking to differentiate how do we understand this corruption between giving and offering. It is not the act, but the mind, but the thoughts that you are investing in that activity, right? Let's say you are offering something to somebody, the Buddha, then Sangha. It is your mind. Some people are offering with lots of expectations. Some people might do that activity without lobha, without dosa, without moha. That is a mind which is free from all these corruptions. We call lobha, dosa, moha as the primary corruptions, whereby all the other small kilesas and asavas arise. As you can see, the first slide Brother Cheong expressed, it's about sathya. One of the upakilesas impurities which we see in the Majjhima Nikaya's many suttas. Upakilesas are neighboring kilesas that drag us to the bigger kilesas. Alright, so how do we understand this topic in life? We are not talking about politicians in particular, religious institutions, XYZ people. We know that different people have been doing so much things to combat corruption, especially Transparency International, TI. They have actually an index where you see that countries, not even developing countries, but also developed countries have corruptions by degree. The problem here is that do we understand how we going to face, how we going to understand corruption in our family, social, work life? The Buddha said in the Kutadanta Sutta, the Digha Nikaya, that crimes will be rampant when there's an economic problem in a country. Now we ask people, hey, you have to be wise, you have to be this and that, so that the society should be okay. Yes, it should be okay, if it is true. But do you think that people who are engaging in these activities are unconscious, unaware about corruption? I think most of them know, right? Most of the people who are engaging in these activities, they know it. But circumstances tempt them to involve in such activities. So before we talking about why people are doing certain things under corruption, maybe bribery, maybe helping hand type of bribery, maybe grabbing greed kind of bribery, is there a society where their needs are really taken care of? Are the seniors are okay? Are the children are okay? Are the people given enough food? I don't think so. There's a huge imbalance. There's a power struggle going on. So we'll leave up to those people, powerful people. But what can we do in our own way? Now we can see that when you say corruption, it's not only bribery, right? It can go beyond the bribery point. The Buddha says, Samma Ajiva, right? This is one of the noble eightfold path factors. That means if you really want to practice Buddhism at a certain level, then your way of living should be free from corruption. He says, do not cheat other people, do not just market just to make some earnings by doing an unqualified, maybe improper service. You should not do certain fraudulent activities to make a living. Because Buddha says that if you do such, then you are falling into miccha ajiva, wrong living. That means our living has to be free from all these corruptions. Let's say, in one of the suttas Buddha says, this is Majjhima Nikaya's Dakkina Vibhanga Sutta. He says how someone is making a dana very successful. Yo Seelava Seelavantesu Dadati Danang Dhammena Laddang Supasanchittu Abhisaddahang Kamma Palangralang Tang Vedana Vipulam Palanti Prumi. He says, in order for you to make an offering very successful, in order to create positive, wholesome kusala kammas, you have to be virtuous. The person who should have sila. Not only you, the person who is receiving the offering should be virtuous. It is good if it happens that way. then yo silava Seelawante Suhadana Dhammena Laddang. Whatever you are giving should have been earned in good ways, not through black money. This is a good point. We understand the fraud, a good place where we understand whatever other bad things, the black money, money laundering. So Buddha was clearly on that point, because let's say you keep doing that dana by using the money that was actually earned in bad ways, by cheating on other people, by hurting other people, by assaulting other people. That dana might lack certain elements. Still, dana might be okay because maybe you are offering it to somebody who is virtuous, but that part is not going to work. This is one of the things that we learn from Samma Ajiva. If you go for a very bigger version, larger, broader version of corruption in Buddhist teachings, you could see mental proliferation, teachings about the Buddha, which means how does someone create akusala? This whole process is called as papancha. What is it called? Papancha. There's a sutta called Madhubindika Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, which means how do you create an akusala? The Buddha says, first you are using your sense faculties, and then the external objects are coming onto your internal sense faculties. They are not the ones Buddha is worried about people. The Buddha says it is the consciousness that invests in those external objects. Let's say you are seeing a sight. Sight is not the problem, not the piece of eyes, but how you going to invest your consciousness in particular object. That means chakku vinyana is the problem. That is the primary level of your corruption through your mental activities. The Buddha says we have to go to nippapancha level. We call it mental proliferation, mental non-proliferation. That is the higher teachings of the Buddha. So we can understand this proliferation is very much connected to what you call corruption. We have to purify ourselves, like Venerable Nayaka Theru mentioned, as the key teaching of all the Buddhas. We have to purify our mind. From what are we going to purify our mind? Could be all the mental impurities. And what can we do actually in our life to combat personal, work-related, family-related, life-related corruption? Now we understand that digitization, the digital platforms have sort of reduced, combated, corruption. As you can see, a couple decades back, the cops have to be on the highways to see how people are speeding up, and then to give them some manual tickets. And people are trying to, deal with these situations in bad ways too. But now you can see, after a couple of decades, they have cameras, and they see the person who is speeding up, and they're getting, photograph. There are pictures, there are plates, and there's a fine going to the house automatically. You can't negotiate that thing. Why don't we see that good side? Things are happening. Things are happening. It takes time, but things are happening. What about other things? Our flights, our many other things. They have been digitized. So digitization has stopped corruption to some extent. Maybe not the whole thing. It takes time, right? So because it is a whole process. And what about the monopolization? When there is a monopoly, you know that companies are monopolizing things. If there are only 2-3 companies, they are monopolizing. Let's say one country may have a couple airlines, and they are monopolizing whole tickets of everybody. But there are many airlines. Then you see a price match. You see low prices of the airlines, right? So that competition, good competition, can sort of combat sort of monopolization. That means we need to decentralize power in a way. Not that power has to be with one person, so that corruption can be awaiting at that point, right? Finally, I could say corruption cannot be stopped without a continued monitoring process. Spot checking, evaluating, supervising, we need all these things. Be that a temple, be that organization, be that a government, because the methods that people use for corruption in 80s, 60s are not going to work at this point. They may be what you call amateuristic, outdated kind of stuff. So as Brother Cheong said, any institution has to discuss about these things periodically, timely, so that even there may be good people who don't want to do unnecessary things. They will be noticed. Good people will understand a lot of good things, and that we will see a very interesting, I would say, conscious, I would say, informed society about what's going on. So we do have a role to play. We might not be able to speak up because of different issues, but we may have a role to do, at least if we come up with thoughts that let's stop anti-corruption in our own way. It might not stop 100%, but let's do something for that. I think if we all do something, like when you chant, when many people chant, the power is going to go up, high up, right? I think something will happen. With that in mind, I want to say, we need to purify our life. Corruption is no good. The Buddha says we have to purify our mind from kilesas, asavas, upakilesas, and also we have to purify our way of living. We are not supposed to cheat. We are not supposed to hurt others, because they all come under this huge level of impurification, impurity. With that in mind, I leave the floor for the Q&A, handing the mic to Reinhard.
Thank you, Bhante Chandima, for his explanation about corruption in Buddhist point of view. And so in the end, so just now, Bhante Seelawimala brought up from education level to wisdom. Then Bhante Chandima, he brought up from wisdom to purification. So now the high time for us to get your opinion. Any question or answer you want to ask, you can ask any of the venerables or our brother Cheong. They are ever ready to give you correct answer. Thank you.
Good evening, sir. Bhante, sir. Brothers and sisters. Okay, what is the Buddhist view on accepting ill-gotten money or donations for dana? What's the view on that?
Who are going to direct the question?
No, my question is, this money is ill-gotten, but they are willing to donate, maybe millions or thousands into this kind of temples or welfare. So what's the view on Buddhism on accepting this kind of donations?
I now you might have a good thought in the first place. Suddenly donate
to my point of view, for information, actually the monks are representative for the whole Buddhist community. He is not building his own house, or he is not developing his own house. This is for the public. For the public, make use of people donate, and with the legally accept for make use of the place. I think intention, action and thought is very clear. But whoever monks or whoever leaders, they are not supposed to misuse of that public donation. I think if you want more information, I ask Bhante Seelawimala to explain. Thank you.
I think you were asking about the religious organizations and the donation.
Donations.
Not only Buddhist temples, but all over the world, all the churches are very highly fed by members, and there are very rich churches and organizations, and that means rich means powerful. When it's a church or a temple or a priest or a reverend, whoever has the power, with no wisdom, they're going to exploit. And it is happening all over the world, and so that is unavoidable. But especially in the Buddhist temples, we try to be fair with the donation that comes from the people. We want to make sure that donation is used properly for the benefit of the people who donate. But even some temples, there could be based on the leader, based on the community leaders, the church can exploit people and the temple can exploit people. But as Buddhists, we are constantly instructed by the Dhamma to be very carefully handle
all the donations, just to make sure that they are not improperly used. So that is what we have to say. And any donation that you give, and you should see if we are receiving some benefit. When you give a donation, number one benefit is your personal satisfaction. Besides the personal satisfaction, you need to receive something from that organization, which is the Dharma knowledge, or the kindness and the caring. If somebody dies in the family, and the monks would go there and do the consolation behavior to console people who lose their family members, and using the donation that the temple receives. And that is what normally we do in this temple. But Venerable Nagadera would say that some of the donations may not be properly used and not go to the right place for the benefit of the right people. So it could happen based on how wise the group of people who run the organization. That is same thing. When you have power, no matter they are Buddhist or Christian or Hindu or whatever, the Muslim, they have the tendency to misuse the wealth, to misuse the power. Power is money.
I think, sorry, there's a misunderstanding here. I think what we mean is not how the money is utilized, but the source of the money. What he means is the source of the money from ill-gotten means or unwholesome means. The source of the money, not how the money is
Source of the
utilized.
money.
Maybe I share with you. This famous Joe Low, right? He's actually the 1MDB's mastermind. This is a very 1MDB case, very clear. The MNCC is already. So I believe in 2014, he made use of the temples, right? He donated millions and did good publicities, that kind of thing, So basically, it's ill-gotten money used as the temple as a thing that I'm very pious, this is well cleaned up. So what is the view on Buddhist view on this kind of money collected from these ill-gotten people?
Normally, any organization to function, they need the support from the community. Now you can see, look at this building. When we came here a few years ago, this was a very crummy place. You cannot sit like this and enjoy a nice meeting, nice discussion. But now, after collecting all the money from all the people, this is all other people's money, the temple's money. It's not money generated from investing the temple money, right? Did you invest in the bank? I don't know. I hope not. Even if you invested, that is fine, because if you invested for the right purpose. Because this type of beautiful, nice, clean building, and good people to keep it clean, and they pay for these workers, and that is, I see as money properly used. And all the Sunday school children come here, all the other meetings are happening here, all the other discussions are here, Dhamma discussions, and that is money, the donation that we receive, well used. I think that, I don't know what you think. I was showing the question.
Okay, one last question. Maybe I share to you the thoughts, right? I have seen cases, gangsters, right? In order to redeem what their sins is, right? They donate this money, right, to relieve the death of maybe the parents and all those things. I mean, the sincerity is there. I think it's acceptable, just so that we believe that if you donate something, right, even if people don't have money, they die, you buy a coffee, so you say it's a good thing. See? So that thing is acceptable. But there are donors who make use of the organization to clean up, the image. That is where the thin line is. Maybe you can answer, sir, MACC.
I will answer it from legal and enforcement point of view, right? Okay, we call that money laundering. Okay, money laundering is offences from the predicate offences. Okay, predicate offences is like drugs or drug trafficking or either corrupt money or bribery. So once you need to laundry the money to be much more better, and they will hide up the offences, so they try to turn it into donation. I think that's what you mean, right? Yes. So normally they will like to use the term donation or either commission or either loan or borrowing money as well. And such a thing, it is very clear that if it's such an organization do not have proper proceeding on donation, so it's a wrong thing. Because you don't have a proper donation guideline, it's violating the guidelines already. So when you don't have a good guideline, you don't have a good policies on donation, so you will violate that guidelines. Once you violate the guidelines, it's already intentionally, you will commit that offences. So intentionally, it's already a wrong, and it's already a wrongdoing where you have another offences of money laundering. Right? So normally we will open a file, investigate under the predicate offence. It's either bribery, it's either misoperate of fund or misoperate of asset under the penal code 409 and 405. So once we have the base on doing that, we will go through a banking accounts and do a money trail. So money trail is quite hassle to do it because you need to have very good analysis to do a forensic accounting from every aspect of your in and out expenses. Okay, but sometimes you need some time and patience. And once you found something else, you may have also need to consider that investigation is have a ground to commit on offences, and you can even go and catch and arrest the people. But it's not easy. It's not easy. I'm telling you just 2 minutes, but if you do a forensic, it's thoroughly, you need to have a very good accounting background, and you need to actually have a very good wisdom, and maybe you must have a very good purifying mind to do that, that you can be focused and concentrate, and you will practice that on the mindfulness, right? It's not easy, okay? I even come across some cases that they tell lies, those commit offences, they tell lies, and so on. So when they are lying, it's very difficult for them to tell the truth, right? So you need to have some psychologically torture them and so on. That's happening. But normally, we are not physically violent on them, and we just want them to prove up what they wanted to have. But it's very simple. Once you have borrowing, but without agreement, that is not borrowing. Borrowing, you must have a proper agreement. You must have a proper guideline. So these are the things we will investigate and we will detect, and once we found any offences, and we will charge them in court. So I think that's answer your questions. Thanks.
So does it mean that the institution should have their own verification system of different donations?
Yes.
Interesting.
For example, recently, I think last year we have a case which we caught a chairman of a public body, a government company, commit offense for flood victims, but he actually instructed the CEO, all right, because the CEO have the power to do a payout, right? But once we found out the payout has been doing something else without a proper guideline on donations, right? Without a proper guideline means the donation has to be a CSR. But why the donation is going to the flood victims? And you know why? Because the flood victims are in his constitution, where he need to win the elections, the next elections. So that is why the purpose. So anyway, we found these offences and so on, and we pursue and we persuade the government to let this chairman bye-bye lah. Okay, so he resigned, and finally he didn't contest for the next elections. That's an example for you, right?
There's someone here.
To answer the question, if somebody comes to the office and brings a check for $50,000, you expect my staff to ask them where you got the money from? I mean, let's be honest. Huh? Let's be honest. Do we go and inquire what is the source of the money? That would be insulting the donor and putting added pressure to my staff to consider all these variations. So therefore, if somebody walks to the office and makes a donation, either physically or online, we accept the donation in good faith, because we accept that money to be legally earned and to be shared with the Buddhist temple. I run the Buddhist temple here. Therefore, my standards are very clear. I hope that answers your question as well.
Thank you, Mr. Cheong. This question, I think everybody also want to try to learn more, actually related to his, I think myself, related to these two gentlemen. What example in any religion, in any party, where they already have donate whatever source of money or whatever source of fund or donation that's into the religion, okay, where they already go through to the orphanage, to the temple, to the school, okay, all these things. When after that, definitely MSCC, the best group, when they find out, they trace this one. So try to guide and teach us. It's come back to the kesalahan, to the both, to the center organization and to the person, where this is where we can learn from here. I mean, recently, I think this few years, we heard there's one Datuk and one company where they donate the MSCC trace. So everything spiritually done already, school start already. So like flood or like honestly, and then even though those are triad and the Macau scam. So what we can learn from here to know that to the public and all the people from different angles.
The good way is to have the first, you need to have a proper policy on donation. Okay, many organizations do not have that, but after I have found this GLC, the one that I shared with you the case, we actually improve on what is the purpose of donation, definitions. Okay, what is the CSR means, what are the programs that they can do, what are the programs they cannot do. For example, you can do it donations and for organizations, all right, and make sure there is no other personal intentions. Always keep in mind that it's only a welfare to other people and benefits everybody fairly. Right? So I think you have come up with the proper guidelines, proper policies, and that policies can be endorsed by the committee and also some guidance by MACC as well. We can actually give you some very good guidance on how to do that, and may also come up with no-give policies. No-give policies is very very common in a lot of corporates, because each and every year we heard about Chinese New Year or Raya Raya, you can get something in big basket or hamper. So we don't want to allow that for only a person or individuals that goes through. We put it as say one guideline, everybody can share fairly without going to a certain person and so on. So if a certain person receives that gift, declare it. Maybe you can declare to the president, maybe you can declare to the monk, the chief monk, to say that, oh, I have received this, but I do not want, because it's not in good faith. You can return it back. Or you can also say, I want to share it with everybody. So that is called a declaration of interest. So I think this is one of the 2 to 3 ways that we can prevent corruption to happen in any organizations. Thank you.
Brother Cheong, how does MACC ensure that their own officers are of the highest integrity? How do they recruit people? Very good.
I think you're interested to be part of the MACC office, right? Okay, I'll probably share with you, MACC officers have a very strict recruitment policies. Okay, they need to be tested integrity. They do be also giving a polygraph test to detect whether they are actually liable to be a liar or dishonor. Okay. Third, they will be tested on some of the security proceeding, and after that they have to undergo 1-year training and on the job training as well to be practical. And after that, when they graduate, they also must be 5 years undergoing investigation policies and procedures. So it's not easy to be a MACC officers, and always each year we like to declare ourselves, all right, and to be safe, we also wanted to be more humble, okay, and to be more honest, okay. And I can tell you, not every MACC officer is good. There are also even bad officers, there are even lazy officers as well, okay. 2 months ago, I even cashed my own officers, all right, in HQ. Last week, also we went catch seconded officers there, which also commit some bribery as well. So, but in how we ourselves, as a human being and as an officer, we must put ourselves in other shoes so that we are liable to people, we are accountable to other publics as well. For example, this forum, all right, I may answer to anybody else about corruptions, and I also would like to thank and give a respect to Chief and Bhante about giving us this opportunity to share. Thanks.
Thank you. Namami Bhante. Hello, sir. I'm sure your department is doing a great job in uncovering corruption cases, punishing the culprits, all those things. My question to you is, what is your department doing in attacking the root cause of this problem? For example, Bhante just told that the problem of corruption can be related to moral science education in schools. It's my personal view that we teach moral science subject as compulsory during initial standards in the school, but after a certain standard or level, it takes a backseat. And especially in the colleges and all, there is no mandatory subject as moral science. People focus on physics, chemistry, engineering, medical subjects. But why can't we make moral science as a compulsory and mandatory subject even in colleges, and so that people are like they don't lose their touch with those values. So I just want to understand your views from that point.
Your view. Yes, your view.
Okay. This question is about education. For me, in today's education system, I trusted parenting skill is much more important. Right? Parenting skill today we don't have war. Right? People are living very comfort. So a lot of children are pampered. I don't know whether you agree with me. They are being pampered, and a lot of children you have very good opportunities, but sometimes if it's a comfort zone, the parenting fail because they are too pampered, and they are too pampered until they can want anything they want. So you talk about school system and so on, even the teachers will not go and care that because your parents are too pampered. You cannot cane them as well, right? I tell you one thing, one of the very good things you can send them to Pure Life Society. That's a good training. You know why? They will be liable to themselves. They will be very independent. without staying with your parents, you will be very independent because you yourself is who you are. So you yourself must do all your cleaning, you must do all your washing. You can only eat vegetable in pure life society. So send them there, training for 1 or 2 months, or even you have short course for months, right? Send them to such of the courses that train them to be independent. So when they get suffering and so on, they will try to align themselves to say that I must be good, I must also respect people, I must be generous, and must be more morality. I think that's the best practice, I'm sure. Thanks.
I think she raised her hand.
No, it's Pirari, you can.
I think parents are pampered because they were not pampered by the previous generation. So they are giving all the happiness to their children. Yeah, okay. Somebody else?
Just curious, are cases in MACC mounting, or is it stable, or is it getting down?
We are getting very busy because those cases are getting more complicated. Okay, even though we have very good technologies, but we have cryptocurrencies, we have scams, and we have even high-tech kinds of money laundering as well. So our job is not easy, but we need the support and we need the people to come in forward to be our informer, to be our whistleblower. All right, thank you.
All this boils down to conditioning one person at a time. That is the whole thing. Corruption is coming from a person, basically, and or group of people. And if these people are taught morality that he was talking about, that is one of the most important part of Buddha's teaching also. And simple thing that you have to teach your children to be ashamed of doing the wrong thing. And you have to teach the children to have fear of doing the wrong thing. That shame and fear is not a good thing in Buddhism. We are teaching to eliminate fear from our system. But Buddha has suggested that this fear is a justified fear, that until you become enlightened, you need to have this fear of doing the wrong thing. That means wrong thing means then every society can define what is wrong. When even the donation that you receive with good faith from devotees, if the organization is using incorrectly, they should be shameful about themselves for doing that. That shame and fear is a very important factor that we plant in the younger generation. When they grow up, they will have the same training. Now, sometimes using force is very important. Like Singapore, for example, they were normal people like most of us, but now out of fear, they are not doing the wrong things. They are afraid of doing the wrong things because of the punishment and other things. And after a while, they learn what is right and what is wrong. So that is conditioning. It's not coming from wisdom, that is coming from conditioning by force. That is also okay at the beginning, because what we do by observing precepts, we are conditioning ourselves. The precept is the rule, 5 precepts or 8 precepts or 10 precepts or whatever the precepts are to train yourself and condition yourself. As a result, slowly and slowly, it becomes your second nature. Not doing the wrong thing is your second nature. And that is what we have to transmit to the whole community and whole society. So that is one thing, when I mentioned about education, the moral education, it's a very important part of even the Chinese culture.
talking about that, right? How China Xi Jinping's control corruption is, if you are caught, right, is death sentence and all those things. I believe you're right. Actually, the enforcement part of it, in order to create fears, is to create enforcement. Enforcement in the sense that you are caught, right? You know, there's no way you're going to face the music. I think Djokovic also do likewise. So it's a political will to bring forward the countries. So I believe you mix religion into politics, that is a green line on both. I believe enforcement is the key to voting. I don't know how our Malaysian government is pursuing. It looks like they are actually taking easy, and you know there's kind of political pressure and all the dark forces behind it, and this. I think it's going to be a very challenging process, and the present government is going to fight this battle. So what do you foresee? I mean, from MCC, looking forward to clean up, to be a country like Singapore. You see, Singapore, they are paid well. So by paying well, right, police officer, politician, and all those things, right, they will not basically resort to this, including enforcement. But in Malaysia, right, you know, the standard of living there, you know, it's all from this unclean money through this kind of corrupt practice, of maneuvering of government funds. So how will this policy be gelled into to make a country stronger, like China or Singapore or even Indonesia is coming forward right now? Thank you.
For me, corruption is a no-end struggle. Where no-end struggle means you fight until you die, also you need to fight. Right? For me, anti-corruption is about fighting, it's about how fierce you are, and sometimes there are bad time and good time, but we might accept it in a good faith, and we have to continue to struggle and fight until you die. That's my point.
I just want to see from the Buddhism point of view. Let's say, you know, I got a corrupt money from a person and help 10 families. Should I be feeling guilty about it? And will I go to hell or to heaven?
If you know that you got from that source, if you know, if you are intentional, if you are conscious that the source of the money as such, yes, karmically yes, then yes. But if you are unintentional, if you don't know, then we can't create karma at that point. Let's say sometimes we have been misused by others with corrupted money. We never know where the money came from. So karmically we are not conscious, we are not affected at that point. But if you know,
I helped so many. I got it.
Somebody can say I can steal and help somebody else. Same thing. That's bad. Yeah. Let's say in some countries, I think petty crimes. A young lady who had no money to buy milk cartons, some small grocery stuff for her children, and she's going to steal shoplifting stuff. It might be justified in some of the courts in the Europe. But in the Buddhist sense, if every young person in that sense is going to do this thing everywhere in the country, all across, then I think that is going to be some issues. That's why I think governments have a bigger role as well. Some welfare programs. I think each one has to play a role here, not even the government. We speak up in the right way, and those people have to do something. It's everybody. But doing a wrong thing and going to do a good thing, I don't think that's going to compensate, the earlier one. Yes.
In Canada, government has a way to support temples and churches. They do gambling. People, they invite people.
Not temple too.
Not at the temple.
I will explain it.
Yeah, you will explain it.
Yeah. So they have casinos.
Yes.
Every main city, let's say Calgary, Edmonton, wherever you went to. So the government says that there are some charity organizations where they are not doing well. So they need money to pay the mortgage. Yes. So even though they make a food drive, they are not making enough. So they say if you are going to help out probably a program, one of the programs in the casino thing, then you will create more funds. But then again, then most of the temples they paid the down payment from this money. After some time they are questioning, didn't we earn the money from this helping of the casino? Right? Yes. And also the government has this thing, if you donate to a charity, registered charity CRA, let's say you donate $1,000, you can have a rebate, one-fourth. If you donate 100,000, you get a 25,000 rebate back. So they are encouraging to help charity. Proper organizations, they should have the charity, status. As you said, even to get a donation, they should have a proper standardized system. Because then there is incoming process, expenses. Yeah. And we have to report to CRA every August what we have done with the money. We can't just keep the money in the bank account. We have to show what we are doing. So there are processes. So that is what I can say about casino. Yes.
When I was running the temple in Canada, that was a big question among the members. Should we use the members to go to casino and get a lot of money from the government by helping the casino? And actually, a lot of members were against it. But at the same time, they knew that they need a temple and there's no other way to make money, that big money coming from the casino. So they take all the members and go to help the casino, and next month they get some money and build the temple finally. So we have done it.
So you have to go to the casino and help out the people who are gambling over there, serving drinks and all that. So, yes.
That is, the gambling money is used to build the temple. Your question.
And most of the Sri Lankans who are there, they work for the government, they work for some fixed jobs. They are not doing business, so they are not making this down payment money ever, never, unless they are going to get benefited from the, these casino things.
Thank you, Venerable. It is exactly 9:42, and one of the key things that we took out from here, and I have to tell you that the officers from IPD were also here earlier to see what we were discussing. And the key points that we raised is, one is education, specifically in the point of moral education. And in our education system, moral education is only taught to the Chinese, Indians, Sikhs, and any other races. Therefore, the moral education is not disseminated across. And that is one of the failings of our education system. Because when you talk about moral education, it must be moral education for all. And I remember I was in the PIPG and suddenly the headmistress calls me and says, hey, you must speak to the moral students. So I went there, I didn't see any Malay students. I said, I'm sorry, I'm not giving this talk at all. Because to me, when we talk about moral education, it must be across the board. To everyone. So we cannot segregate. Therefore, the failings of our education system is also very clear. It's very clear that the attention given to combat corruption, and that is now what's happening in our country. All right? So these are some of the fundamental things that we need to address. Even Brother Cheong, you need to address this at the level of the Ministry of Education, so that moral education can be taught to everyone. And that is important. Yeah? All right, before we end, thank you so much for coming. Before we end, I would like to invite Venerable Monks to say a short blessing for us before we partake in the reception which has been prepared by my office staff. With that, I invite Venerable Sirs, Chief and Venerable Seelawimala and Venerable Chandima to do a blessing, please. Thank you.
Sabbitiyo yajantu sabbarogo vinasatu mati bhattantarayo sukhiti gayuko bhavatu sabba mangalam rakkantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sada sutti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalam Rakhantu sabba devata sabba dhammanubhavena sada sutti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangala Rakhantu sabba devata sabba sanghanubhavena sada sutti bhavantu te. May all beings be well and happy. May all beings be well and happy. May all beings be well and happy. Thank you. Last not least, I would like to just remind you, like just now Brother Prem reminded when he was young, mother always in the house. And same way, when we are young, we do any mistake, our mother or father used to beat us. We take the rotan. Every house they have. But today what is happening? If mother or father beat the child, have to go to High Court already. So, same way, we have to understand, this is 2023. And in the 50 years time, technology is going to be very, very advanced. I just give you one example. Before COVID, we never expected so fast this technology will develop. But after the COVID, everybody going to the online, everything online. At the same time, we lose our family feeling, spiritual feeling. So those days we listen to the parents. Now, you can ask any of the parents, they have to listen to the children. Parents have to listen to the children. So therefore, we cannot stop development of the modern technology. And when the technology developed, at that time, I don't think we have to be worry all this anti-corruption, this and that, because we can't be with the normal wall, everything can see the other side. So technology is really going to be an advance. So never mind, with the development with the modern technology, we'll be able to clear all this, everything, and we have a clear mind, clear thought, and purify our mind and have a peace of our mind, each and every one of us. Thank you.
Yeah.